have the pleasure to have with us Principal Roy Morale, which is the principal of Cypress Elementary School, who will share with us his ideas on how to work with parents, how schools can work with parents to help them support their students, their children, succeed in school. Thank you for being with us again.
My pleasure.
And it's always wonderful to speak with you. From your perspective, how could parents, especially Latina parents, communicate and relate to the schools in order to best support their children's education?
Well, the best thing for any situation on either side, parents, schools, is building relationships and communication. That's absolutely key. Whether it's a good situation, your child is getting on a roll and you're there for the ceremony, or if it's a bad situation, your child is having some trouble and you're advocating for your child at the school. All of those, still, it comes down to building relationships with the teacher, with the principal, with the PTA, to make sure that you build a foundation on which to base your involvement with the school. If a tough situation does arise, which can happen in 12 years of schooling for any child, if you have not built some relationships amongst the faculty or the school, it can make it a little bit more difficult to come in and to be able to trust the people that you're working with. And so to be as involved as you possibly can is the key. It's communication.
I hear you, but sometimes parents will say, yeah, but how do you go talk to the principal? They may feel intimidated, or they may feel like, because multiple reasons, they may not have an education themselves, they may be sort of unaware of how the system works in the United States, and therefore it's difficult for them to approach, for example, the school principal. What would you say to that parent?
Well, it depends on the school and the principal. Principals are as different as teachers as are as different as parents. So you have to approach the situation depending on how the principal of your child's school is. In my case, I'm out and about most days. I'm every morning at breakfast duty. Every afternoon, I'm in the car rider line. So for me, if you're at my school, it's very simple. You just come find me and talk to me. For other schools, it might mean making an appointment. And if you're not comfortable with doing that, or you feel like maybe you'd rather be a little bit more informal, go to a parent night, an open house, a conference night. And any of those times, meet and talk to your teachers. The teachers are your real important base of contact. If you can be involved in a school advisory council or a parent-teacher organization, or even just meet the principal on the sidewalk. Any of those where the people can get to know you, know your face, know that you're involved and that you're there for the school. Any situations like that, in the future when you can help or when you need help, that will have laid the foundation for you already.
And that's in relationship of the parent and the school. What advice do you have for parents in their relationship with their children? How to be an effective parent?
Well, I don't know. I'm still working with my kids, but what I can say that I've seen that works is that the children need to see, as well as hear, your expectations about school. It's one thing to say to your child, you have to do your homework, but then not provide them a time and a place to do the homework. Your message needs to be consistent. In my home, my child knows when he's done with his studies, he has his work to do. This is where he does it. This is the time he does it. And until that time is done, there's no playtime. That might be a little bit more difficult for parents who do daycare or who don't see their children till later in the evening or various other things. But the children need to have a very consistent message that their education is important. They also need to see that you're involved. The involvement might just be checking your homework. I can tell you that in my experience as a child, my dad checked my homework until easily middle school. What I didn't know is my dad didn't speak any English at that time. But he would check that homework and he'd put his initials, and my dad worked overnight, and even when he could read and he could check it for academics, the man would still look at my homework in the middle of the night when he got home from work. that told me the importance of not only was I to do my homework, but it better be done right because my dad was checking up behind me.
That is a fascinating part of what parents do, because even if you couldn't read it, still make sure that it was done and check it. Good for him. Now, what other resources do parents have in schools? Because, of course, you are the principal, but there are assistant principals and a number of other potential sources that parents can approach. What will be your suggestion for parents to do? What would be the people they should approach and for what reasons?
Well, the first step is definitely to approach your teachers. They're working with your child day in and day out. You need to build a good, positive relationship with them so that when your child does need assistance in any area, they'll feel comfortable coming to you and you'll feel comfortable talking to them. And then there's a huge amount of assistance that can be found at a school, but it depends on the school. In Hillsborough County, there are social workers, there are guidance counselors, there are assistant principals and principals, all of which can help a parent. If they can't help them with certainly they can help them with the academics, but with social services as well. It could be, I have helped parents get assistance in paying electric bills. I have helped parents in assistance in getting food from food banks and clothing and blankets when it's cold out. And there's a lot of areas that we can assist in, but every school is very different. It depends on what that school has as a resource. If nothing else, schools are oftentimes a clearinghouse for where you can find resources and they can point you in the right direction. So definitely, if you have concerns, if you have issues, make a phone call, go to the office, and get in touch with somebody there, and I'm sure they'll be able to help.
I hear you. Now, what if the parent doesn't feel comfortable speaking English or doesn't know the language?
Right. Well, there's several options. Many times there's family members that can translate. One area that happens very often, but is a difficult situation, is when they use older siblings to translate and then they pull their child out of school. So that can be a little difficult, but at the same time it's understandable when they don't have someone else to help with the translating. But certainly many schools have translators, and they'll have either secretaries or teachers, or in my case, the principal at my school, because I speak Spanish, but it depends. But most schools here in the Hillsborough County area will have someone on staff that can certainly help translate.
Anything else that I should have asked you an idea?
Well, I think that it's important to understand that everything in life, everything is about building relationships. The more involved you get with a school, the more the principal, the assistant principal, the teachers will see you as an advocate for your child, as a team member, as someone who is there to help and not someone who is necessarily going to get in the way. We're all humans. If the only time I've ever met you as a principal is when you come to complain to me, then all I'm going to ever see is the complaining parent. I want to also see the parent who comes for the music program, or the parent who comes to lend a hand when they can. So the more involved you can get, the better you build a relationship with the parents. With the school, the better that your experience as a parent of a child in a school will be.
Thank you. And you heard it here. Parents can work and can establish a relationship with schools, and according to Principal Morale, that is a key component of your children's success. Thank you.
Thank you.